I just did a consultation call with a gentleman from Florida, and he is together with an Indonesian girl. They met each other in the Middle East, and very soon they're gonna travel together in Southeast Asia. So it seems that he met a really good woman. A type of woman you actually wanna date. A type of woman you want to run into, right? If you're interested to date Indonesian women. But the topic of today's video is I want to talk about the type of Indonesian women you actually should avoid dating, or you want to avoid dating, because there are several types of women in Indonesia you will run into. Yeah? And today I want to cover these categories of women you might run into when you are about to date in Indonesia. The first category of women you really want to avoid are the bar girls. Yeah? And there's much to say about bar girls. I've done videos about this in the past. I might have to do another video in the future to elaborate a little bit more, because this is a topic for itself. You want to avoid dating bar girls for many reasons, but only briefly I want to point out that what many guys get wrong, especially the Western men who come the first time to either Indonesia or to the Philippines or to Thailand, these girls who are working in these kind of establishments, in these bars, go-go bars, or whatever, they are not so poor as you think, in terms of that they hate their job, you know, and that they are kind of being pushed into doing this job. It's not the case. These girls, they know very well what they are doing, and believe it or not, they like their job. They like what they are doing. They know what they do. Yeah? And they certainly don't need to be saved by you, yeah, by a, I don't know, Prince Charming. Yeah? It's not necessary. And this is all I want to say in regards to the first category, the bar girls. This is something you want to strictly avoid. You want to strictly avoid dating these women. As a matter of fact, there is no such a thing like dating bar girls. There is no such a thing. If you date a bar girl, then you got something wrong. It's a transactional service, basically, okay? Nothing more, nothing less. You pay for a certain service. It has nothing to do with dating. It's the same like you go into a restaurant, you sit down, you order your meal, you consume the meal, you pay for it, you leave some tip, that's it, bye-bye. That's what it is. It's purely transactional. The second category of women you want to avoid dating inside of Indonesia is the gold digger. Yeah? The girls who are money focused. Yeah? And of course this takes a certain degree of evaluation, judgment and discernment, and this is what you need to come up with. You need to develop along the way when you are inside Indonesia and meet women and date women. You need to develop your judgment, and you will do mistakes, but you go further, you will learn, okay? But how to spot these gold diggers? One way to spot them is, yeah, their conversation, for example, there would be around money topics, money issues, you know, like things like that. So if your conversation always circles around money and these kind of things, maybe she is talking about that her grandmother is sick, and she don't know how to pay the hospital bill, you know, hospital bill, or she don't know how to pay her tuition for the school, these kind of things, you know, money topics, you know. Also, if she perhaps is insinuating traveling to other provinces or islands, maybe she is telling you, oh, you know, I always wanted to go to Bali. I always wanted to go to Lombok, you know, because all my friends have been there and they say it's all nice and, you know, and these kind of things. Or of course, if she's talking about certain gadgets like smartphones, or even clothing, you know, then you have to be very careful. She is most likely a gold digger, you know, and she is testing you, you know. If you are someone who's just easily willing to throw cash at her or just tell her, okay, let's go to Bali tomorrow and I pay for your trip, don't worry about it, and I find a nice resort to tell, don't worry about it, and I'm gonna buy you a new smartphone, don't worry about it, then you are a fool, you are a loser, and this girl is happy. Yeah? Or if she is someone who is straightforwardly is asking you for money, then you know hopefully what you are dealing with. And this category of women also exists inside of Indonesia. But these girls normally, they do it in they act in a more subtle way, more through the grapevine. They use a lot of insinuation, dropping certain hints, you know. So it's harder, way harder to spot gold diggers in Southeast Asia than maybe in Western countries. Yeah? And I know what I'm talking about because I was falling for these traps in my early beginnings, you know. The third category of women you want to avoid are these women with a bad temperament. You know, I've talked about this in my previous video. Women who are insecure. Okay, now let's talk about insecurities a little bit again. I think to a certain level it is okay. I mean, we all are kind of insecure on different levels in different areas, and as I mentioned in my previous video, most of Indonesian women are insecure, especially about their looks, their physiques, you know, and other stuff. But you want to be very careful if you run into a, let's say, control freak, or a woman who is very jealous, or a woman who is constantly nagging you, you know. And I'm pretty sure you figure this out, you can find it out during your very first dates, you know. These women need to be avoided. There's no point to continue dating them. Yeah. Also, women who are attention seekers, you know, who need a lot of validation and approval, or in short, women who are very needy. Yeah. I can tell you that I was kind of lucky. I don't remember ever dated an Indonesian woman who was the person I just described, like a control freak, very controlling, very jealous, a nagger, or a very needy girl. Yes, my previous girlfriends, they also were a little bit needy here and there, but not to such an extreme level. Of course, the best case would be if you meet a very confident woman, right? That would be the best thing. But the fourth category is of women you actually want to avoid dating or should avoid, and that's a little bit tricky. Is a woman you cannot have a proper conversation with, okay? And the main obstacle here in Indonesia is, of course, the low English level. So that's your main obstacle. That means there are women, certainly, who want to have conversation with you, who want to have great conversation with you, or who are even able to converse on a certain level with you, but the problem is their low English level. And I ran a lot into these women in Indonesia. That's just how it is, unfortunately. I hope the situation will improve one day. Until that happens, we still kind of need to continue struggling. It is not like in the Philippines where it's so easy to converse, but it is maybe similar to Thailand, you know. But if you really want, you can manage. You just have to figure out if this girl is really worth having a conversation. So let's put the low English level aside, you know. But this is one reason why you cannot have a proper conversation with this girl, right? But this also leads to misinterpretation, right? This is another obstacle. But definitely one reason also why you cannot have great conversations is if the girl is immature. Let's say she speaks a decent level of English, but she is completely immature, right? What's the point? You know, I mean, if you cannot have a proper conversation with her, you know, or if you have different interests, you know, this can happen also. And this you figure out while you have conversation, right? Why is she immature? Perhaps she is a little bit too young, you know, and maybe she's just also too silly, you know. I can tell you from my past experience, my ex-girlfriend, who was from Indonesia, from Sumatra, she was great. And we clicked on many different levels and in many different aspects. Don't ask me why we are not together anymore. I shared the story in other videos, but I just want to illustrate one point here. So this girl, because I'm a big reader, I love to read books, you know, I read a lot of books about various topics, and she also was a big reader. Not only novels and stuff, but also, you know, scientific literature. She was educating herself about money and finances and other psychological things. So she was interested in that also. And she was very young. At the time, she was like mid-20s. And that was great, you know, because she was a woman with intellect, you know, with interests similar to mine, and we could really have great conversation about various topics. It was intellectually very stimulating for me, you know. And also her English level was very well. It was very well developed because she worked overseas, but also she read a lot of English books. She read English books, not Indonesian books. And this is what I like, you know. I like to have intelligent conversations about anything, but these women you cannot find so often, you know, like everywhere else, I assume, right? So it depends on your preferences, of course. I mean, if you are someone who just likes to hang around in the bars, you want to get drunk, and just want to hunt after girl after girl after girl, then this is no intellectual stimulation, and in my opinion, you don't need that, okay? But this is just one example from my past, and that was a lot of fun, you know? So if you cannot not have great conversation, I think, if you find out you cannot have great convo, then you should avoid this girl, you know? It also depends, of course, on the life experience. Very young women, they have less life experience. It's probably more fun to date an Indonesian woman who is in their, let's say, early 30s, mid 30s, late 30s maybe, you know, because this woman has a different life experience. She went through stuff already, and she has different opinions about different things, and she can share a lot also about her life, right? So you can have great conversation, stimulating conversation. I find this very important. And I know there are some smart asses now in the audience And I don't know how many times I have to repeat this here, but I will do it again. They will say, you know, Marcel, what you are saying here, what you are pointing out, it's universal. It applies to all women around the world. Let me think. What is the title of this video? Is it type of all women or type of women you should avoid dating, or is the title of this video type of Indonesian women you should avoid dating? Right, this video is about dating Indonesian women. Yeah? And if somebody says, oh, this applies to all women, have you really dated all women around the world? Have you dated in different cultures? Have you dated Chinese girls, Vietnamese girls, Philippine girls, Malaysian girls, Vietnamese girls, American girls, German, Swiss, Austrian girls, African girls? Have you dated them? I dated them, and there are differences. So if you say, oh, this applies to all women, I think that's nonsense, you know, because you have not dated all women from all cultures, from all continents. Guys who are saying this, they have actually very little experience. Yeah, I want to make this very clear. And yes, of course, it's a no-brainer that there are similarities. Yeah, a woman is a woman. A woman is a woman, right? There are similarities, but also there are major differences. That's why I'm doing these videos, and the topic of today's video is the type of Indonesian women you want to avoid when dating. And there are two distinctions here, the bar girls and the conversation thing, which I mentioned already. Because when you say, oh, this applies also to German women and to American women, oh really? So riddle me this. If you go on a date in Germany and I speak German and this woman speaks German, so there will be no problem with for example, low German level, because she will speak fluently German, so we don't have that problem. But in Indonesia, you will run into this problem, the low English level, and this is a major obstacle if you cannot even talk about the most simple things, if you cannot even crack jokes. You should know how important conversation, communication, or even cracking jokes is while dating, right? Or let's take the bar girl thing. You have no bar girls in Germany, for example, yeah, or in Europe. Yeah, there is no bar girl scene like it is in Indonesia or in Hong Kong or in the Philippines or in Thailand. This thing simply does not exist in Germany. Yeah. Now you might say, oh, but there are prostitutes, you know, so what's the difference? A bar girl, you say yourself, a bar girl is a prostitute. Yeah, she is a prostitute. And then we have prostitutes in Germany. What's the difference? You know, it's a no-brainer. You don't date prostitutes. It's a no-brainer, Marcel. What are you telling us here? So then, riddle me this. Why are so many Western men, when they come to Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Philippines, or Thailand, falling for these bar girls if it is a no-brainer, if it is so easy, you know? Why are so many men are falling into this trap, thinking they are dating bar girls, being ripped off left, right, and center, falling into this trap? I will do a follow-up video on this, especially on this bar girl thing, to really clarify this once and forever. So it's not this clear-cut thing here, you know. There are differences in cultures, in women, but of course, you know, there are also similarities. I wanna emphasize this again. I spent now a few minutes again at bringing this point home. So you don't need to comment anymore and letting me know that this applies to all women around the world. This is actually intellectually very lazy in my opinion, okay? But let's continue. Category number 5. Women you want to avoid dating in Indonesia is if this girl has no job. In Indonesia, good girls have a job. It's as simple as that. That's my experience. It's different than in other countries. Good girls have a job. Because the good girls also have good education in Indonesia. Education is emphasized in Indonesia very strongly. And the good girls and also the good boys, they take care of their education and they want to work. Yeah? They are not lazy, they want to work, they want to support their family, they want to support themselves, and they want to be independent somehow. There is no worry with that. But of course, you have to look at case by case. Maybe there is a family matter, maybe there's somebody sick in the family and the girl needs to travel home to the province and take care of her parents or grandparents. These cases happen, you know. But in general, good girls have a job and earn money. Yeah, you want to avoid these women who are just hanging around online on the dating sites all day long, and you can figure that out pretty quickly. You know, if you see the girl is constantly chatting with you morning time, lunchtime, dinner time, in the afternoon, even during night time, then you know what's going on. This girl, she is not working for what reason ever. Maybe she is a professional online scammer. You know, you want to avoid these women. You know, as a general rule. You know. And the sixth category here, it's a little bit tricky. I have it on my list here, single moms, you know. I don't want to say to strictly avoid single moms in Indonesia, but you have to understand her motivation, you know. I dated a single mom many years ago and it didn't really work out, and she is married now to a British guy, and what I can see how she lives her life actually confirmed what I was thinking at the time. So these women, these single moms, yeah, they have to deal with different circumstances. Their kid or their children is priority number one. So you can assume that even more than with regular girls who are not the mother yet, these single moms have monetary motivations, 100%. They want to date a guy who is financially stable, who can provide for her and her kid or for the children, you know. Also, the thing is, in Indonesia, it is a cultural thing that single moms are unfortunately many times, I'm not saying always, but many times rejected by local men. Local men want to marry a girl who is, especially the Muslim guys, who is preferably a virgin, you know, and has never been married before. And in some way I can understand that. It has to do with the religion and the faith, and it's all good, you know. It's similar to the Christian people in Indonesia. So this is the culture. So similar to the Philippines, the Filipinas inside the Philippines who are single moms, they have a more difficult stance, and it's the way in Indonesia also. You know, single moms, they are being rejected by local men. So this category of women is kind of unlucky. So they turn to Westerners, to foreigners. It's basically their last resort. Similar like in Thailand and the Philippines, because they know Western men are interested to date Indonesian women. How do they know that? Because these Western men are hanging around on the dating sites, you know, on these Indonesian dating sites. So they're interested, they must be interested. So this is how they get in touch with these Western men. So this is their rationale. So we have to be, all I want to say is just take this into consideration, be a little bit careful, you know, monetary motivations might play a bigger role than you think, because at the end of the day, she is a single mom, she is a mother, and all she wants to do is to take care of her kid or the children, and it's a very honorable goal, and she also needs to see how she pays the bills, right, and how she puts food on the table. So Indonesian single moms have kind of that stigmata unfortunately, in this culture. So that's the 6 categories I wanted to mention today, to avoid when dating inside of Indonesia. The gold diggers, the bar girls, the girls with a bad temperament, insecure girls, control freaks, jealous girls, and naggers and stuff like that. Girls you cannot really have a stimulating conversation with, you know, if you are somebody who is looking for that. A girl who has no job, you know, you have to look at it carefully why she has no job, you know, and keep these single moms on your radar. Okay, this is my opinion about this. You might have different opinions about it, and I'm not saying to don't date single moms in Indonesia. I'm not saying that. Just, you know, and it's just my experience from also dating single moms in the Philippines and in Thailand. You know, and these women have just different priorities. I think this is very easy to understand, right? They're not dating for fun. They're not dating for adventure or great sex or anything. They need a provider, even more than other girls do, you know. So, where to find these girls you want to avoid, or how to make sure to avoid these women? Yeah, I mean, they're everywhere, right? Like you have in any other country, in every other culture, also scammers and stuff like that, you know. But in Indonesia, you know, I mean, if you want to avoid the bar girls, then don't go to the bars. You know, it's very simple. I mean, it's a no-brainer actually. But if you want to find a good girl, maybe meet her at your workplace if you have a job in Indonesia, you know. If you're lucky, look for girls at your workplace, you know. Girls who work, earn their own money. You can assume they are responsible and good girls, you know. If you want maybe an intelligent woman, go to the universities or hang out around the universities. Stuff like that, you know. It depends where you look, you know. And talking about these universities, you know, it reminds me of a story of one of my good friends. He's a German guy. He lives in Thailand already for many, many years. He's married to a Thai woman. But he told me, you know, he shared the story when he was still single. I asked him, so tell me about Thai girls and this and that, you know, and how did you date? How did you start? And he told me, you know, and we talked about bar girls and all that kind of stuff also. He said, you know, Marcel, in Thailand it's the same thing. If you want to find the good girls, you have to hang around places where the good girls are. And I asked him, so where are the good girls in Thailand? He said, you know, this is how I did it, he told me. I lived in Bangkok and I knew where all these office buildings are, or the banks or shopping malls and stuff. I knew there are the people are working there, you know. Like for example, office buildings of some big companies. So, and these people during lunchtime, they go out for lunch, you know, they go into the restaurants or the nearby mall or buying some food on the street, you know. And this is where he basically hung out, you know. He knew where these women would take their lunch, and he basically joined them, you know. Not directly next to them at their table, but he was hanging around at these spots. And this is how he got in touch with these women, you know, when they had lunch at the mall. These good working Thai girls, you know, who are not on dating sites, who don't do online dating, who don't work in the bars or as a freelancer or anything, you know. So this is what he told me. This is where you can find the good girls. And eventually he found a good girl, they started a relationship, and now he's married to that woman for many years already. He's still happily married. This woman, by the way, is very intelligent. He speaks fluently English. It's a Thai woman. She is a lawyer. So you see, there you go. There you go. It's a great example. It's from Thailand, but you know, the same rules apply to Indonesia. You want to find the good girls, you have to hang around places where the good girls are. And with that being said, I'm checking out for today. Thanks for watching, and I'm looking forward to your comments and what you have to say. Maybe you have something to add, maybe you disagree with me, maybe you will say again, oh, you know, this applies to all women around the world. Yeah, then so be it. Thanks for letting me know, thanks for reminding me. I would never have thought of it. But I think there are important differences you need to know, yeah, when dating Indonesian women. Okay, that's it for today. I'm gonna see you in the comment sections, and yeah, take care, bye bye.